5,000 plus. A lot of people had expected Agbola was probably going to give Ayedatiwa a run at Ifedore, but
even when Professor West, that's the deputy of Agbola, even when he was not on the ballot, he has practically always won Idore for his party. So a lot of people predicted that, oh, now that he's on the ballot, it's going to be a very wide margin of victory for him, for his party against the APC. Unfortunately, even though the figures were close, Idore was lost to the APC, either though for Ifedore too, where a lot of people, the PDP has a lot of influence. And I must tell you that one of the things responsible for that turnout of votes, like we witnessed in Idore and Ifedore against the PDP, even when we thought it was going to go their way, was because of the fact that lack of funding, like I had Nelson and yourself talked about when I reconnected, played a major role. Agbola Ajayi did not have the wherewithal to flex muscle in the last election. You can even count the number of billboards in his favor across Ondo State. Hardly will you even find his posters. Something as small as posters were not in abundance. Not to not talk of political meetings, the funding for political groups, for political leaders, and all of that. So all of that whittled down the influence of Agbola Ajayi and Professor West in that election. But I must say this again: the issue of vote buying played a very major role.
Let's talk about the North now. The North shocked everyone by turning out the highest number of votes. I didn't even expect the North to turn out this number, to be candid. I didn't expect. But look at the total number of votes turned out by the North, Nelson. We're talking about 149,000. That's the highest of the three senatorial districts.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
The highest.
Yeah. And when you compare it to the other party, the margin. The margin. This is the highest.
Yes, it's the highest.
Though also, we must also not run away from the fact that the federal minister of Interior.
No, that's the lowest you wanted to say. Is the lowest.
No, I mean the margin.
Yes, okay.
The margin.
And the PDP performed the poorest.
Poorest, yes, in the Ondo North.
Yes, in Ondo North.
So I think the role of the President Minister of Interior cannot be ruled out. He showed his weight, because we saw him flexing.
He's a popular politician.
He's a popular politician there. So I will not.
It's a pleasure to have you join us now on TV360 Nigeria. I am Victoria Akonde. President Bola Tinubu has told French investors that the country is open for business, saying his government is creating an enabling environment for them to thrive. Tinubu said this on Thursday during a joint briefing with French President Emmanuel Macron at the Élysée Palace. The Nigerian president underscored his country's youth who are skilled, educated, and ready to be trained as part of the reasons French investors should look towards the West African nation. He said Nigeria is working on diversifying its economy away from fossil fuels and believes France can play a key role in that move.
We need to do more, promote more, invest more in very important areas. Food security is one of them. We cannot but invest in one another's economy. As Nigerian financial sector is evolving in the France environment. Thank you for creating the conducive environment for them to flourish, and we are creating the same grant for investment in Nigeria economy for the French nationals. We've been working on stabilizing the security system in Nigeria, and we are getting closer and closer. We are doing better now in the area of security. I can assure all the investors here that Nigeria is open for business. And I thank you for your collaboration. Right after this is the education of our children. We have a vibrant youth population that is well educated and ready to be trained, skilled, and development of our economy. This, we emphasize that we need the French expert and investment to do more in this area.
The strengthening of Nigerian banking in our country over the last 5 years. So we have become the first business hub for Nigerian business in France, and many banks have opened their offices here. We have financial partnerships and once again, agribusiness companies that have decided to organize partnerships and set up in France. Apart from these economic partnerships, which should make France a long-term partner to accompany you for the food security of your nation, and also to allow the extraction and the valorization of minerals to be a partner of your defense and security strategy with our industries. These are three axes that we are committed to. France will continue to invest through the 8FD. We have more than 320 million euros from 2025 for food security projects, urban mobility, for higher education, vocational training, climate change, amongst others.
Now, the remaining states yet to implement the 70,000 naira minimum wage for workers are making last-minute moves to ensure the Nigeria Labour Congress does not embark on strike on Monday, the 1st of December 2024. The states yet to approve the monthly wage are Katsina, Cross River and Zamfara after the Imo State government sanctioned the implementation of the 70,000 naira wage on Tuesday. It means the three states and the Federal Capital Territory have now complied with the 2024 National Minimum Wage Act. On Monday, labor unions in Cross River, who are demanding a new wage of 70,000 naira from the state government, directed state civil servants to embark on a 2-day warning strike over the non-implementation of the new minimum wage. The warning strike was signed by the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress. And the Senate on Thursday passed 4 tax reform bills for a second reading following voice votes. The bills, transmitted by President Bola Tinubu on October 3rd, are part of a broader effort to overhaul Nigeria's tax system and improve revenue generation. The proposed legislation includes the Nigeria Tax Bill 2024, the Tax Administration Bill, the Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill. While lawmakers generally acknowledge the reforms as critical, debates arose over their timing, with Senator Ali Ndume calling for wider consultations with governors, traditional rulers, and the National Economic Council before moving forward.
These bills aim to simplify the tax landscape, reduce the burden on small business, and streamline how taxes are collected. In broad terms, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, the 4 bills seek to ensure uniformity in tax revenue administration in Nigeria in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution, eliminate the incidence of double taxation across the country, deploy taxation as a tool to encourage private sector investments in critical industries, and boost individual disposal incomes through targeted tax exemptions.
Mr. President, the third problem I mentioned is the people, through the governors, and then the NEC and the traditional rulers say that the bill should be withdrawn, make some necessary amendments,
and then bring it back and we can pass it in 24 hours. The attempt by the current administration to let the governments of Nigeria, all levels, they run on tax and tax revenue is something that I fully support.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to repeal certain acts on taxation and consolidate the legal frameworks relating to taxation and enact the Nigeria Tax Act to provide for taxation of income, transactions, and instruments, and for related matters 2024. Second reading taken.
Moving on, the National Democratic Coalition (NDC) has called on democratic unions, including the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and EU member states, to impose a visa ban on Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State and several judges. The NDC made this call during a press conference in Abuja, where they expressed alarm over the erosion of democratic principles and constitutional governance in Rivers State under Governor Fubara's leadership. In his address, the convener, Okwadan, said Governor Fubara has made efforts to weaken the people's will and erode the rule of law, including influencing elections and pressuring the judiciary to support his authoritarian goals. The group described these judges as brown envelope judges who have eroded public confidence in the judiciary, just as it urged the international community to hold Governor Fubara and his associates accountable for their actions, which they believe undermine Nigeria's democratic future and destabilize the entire country.
We urge democratic nations, especially the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and the EU member states to impose visa ban on Governor Siminalayi Fubara, Oko Jumbo, and other associates in the light of these alarming events. These include Justice Wali, Justice M. Danagogo, and other conspirators who have weakened democracy in Rivers State. The governor's manipulation over the courts is the most concerning feature of this democratic downturn. It is very unfortunate that the judiciary, which is traditionally the last hope of the common man, has been opted into serving the interests of a political faction loyal to Governor Fubara and his cronies. Judges like Justice M. Danagogo and Justice Wali have been exposed to have a part in this judicial compromise, which is perhaps the most obvious example. A suspended member of the legislature was declared speaker through an ex parte application by Justice Danagogo, who is notable for being the elder brother of the secretary to the state government, SSG. Likewise, in another ex parte decision, Justice Wali sacked legitimate assembly members. Believe that there is still hope. People in Rivers State deserve to have a system of government where their rights are upheld and their opinions are heard and respected.
Moving on, a town hall meeting organized by the Rule of Law and Empowerment Initiative, also known as Partners West Africa Nigeria, has brought together stakeholders to discuss the Nigeria Police Act 2020 and regulations agenda and its implications for law enforcement and citizens' rights. The town hall meeting, which brought together civil society members, security experts, and community representatives, served as a platform for key stakeholders to engage in meaningful dialogue about the Nigeria Police Act 2020 and its potential to reshape law enforcement and safeguard citizens' rights. Our correspondent, Sidney Okafor, completes the story in this next report.
Gathered in this hall are stakeholders from the southwest geopolitical zones to educate the citizen on the Nigerian Police Act 2020, which was signed into law by former President Muhammadu Buhari on September 15, 2020, to repeal the Police Cap P19 laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004. However, recent research has revealed there is lack of awareness about the existence of the Police Act 2020 and its provisions. Stakeholders at the meeting highlight the need for greater public awareness and accountability within Nigeria's policing system and to identify the challenges working against the implementation of the Act in Nigeria.
Then insufficient accountability provisions, inadequate protection of civil rights and liberties. Under the old Police Act, the policeman was allowed to shoot and kill a fleeing suspect if the offense for which the person is suspected is more than 7 years. So if he's accused of stealing, and you know that if he's convicted, he carries more than 7 years, the policeman is allowed to shoot and kill under the old act to prevent a fleeing suspect. But the new act has changed all of this.
My expectation as part of the organizers is to see that the media are aware of their rights, the general public are also aware of their rights, and of course they are conversant with the new act, the Police Act 2020, and the regulations.
The high point of the Nigerian Police Act is the repeal of the Section 127 of the Nigerian Police Force Regulation that states that unmarried police officers who become pregnant while in service should be dismissed.
It opens the eyes of the media to enlighten them about the Police Act and its innovations, the Police Act 2020 and the innovations of the Police Act 2020, and also the innovations in the regulations, police regulations.
What we hope to achieve is to have a more enlightened media populace or practitioners who can speak to issues, who can speak to laws and ensure that they are reporting in line with the provisions of our laws.
Civil society organizations at the event praised the initiative, calling for enhanced collaboration between law enforcement agencies and the public.
There are changes that has been made between the old acts and the new one, and there are media persons here, there are heads of organizations, CSOs. I think it's important for us to be here for us to know what this new act is talking about and how the role that the media plays in sensitizing and raising awareness to the public.
Most people do not really know much about it, and that's one of the essence of having this kind of meeting this morning, because it's quite funny that the police themselves do not even know much about the power they have. They do not really know much about what they should do within the ambit of the law. So this kind of town hall meeting has opened our understanding to know much about what the police can do within our society.
Given the success of the awareness efforts in the Southeast region, organizers have called for similar events in other geopolitical zones as they urge participants to put forward useful recommendations which will help strengthen the police reforms in the country. Sydney Okafo, TV360, Lagos.
Meanwhile, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, says its investigation and enforcement team has uncovered a trove of counterfeit medicines during a raid at Higher Village Trade Fair Complex, Lagos State. The agency disclosed this in a statement on its X handle on Thursday, stating that the operation led to the seizure of fake pharmaceuticals. Amoxicillin 500 milligrams, Ampiclox capsule 500 milligrams, and packaging materials for augmentin capsules 625 milligrams were some of the fake pharmaceuticals seized. It added that the facility has been placed on hold and all illegal products have been evacuated. And human trafficking is one of the most pressing global challenges of our time, with millions of vulnerable individuals, particularly women and girls, falling victim to this organized crime every year. In an effort to strengthen the fight against this menace, the German government is collaborating with Nigeria's National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, to enhance investigative skills and improve resources. As part of this effort, a 7-day training workshop for investigative officers is underway in Abuja. TV360's Emeka Mako has more on this story.
Human trafficking continues to thrive as a transnational organized crime, inflicting untold harms on millions of victims across the globe. To combat this menace, international collaboration remains critical. In Abuja, about 20 investigative officers of NAPTIP are undergoing a 7-day training program organized by the German Federal Criminal Police in partnership with the German Mission in Nigeria. This workshop underscores the deepening collaboration between both nations in tackling trafficking in persons and sexual exploitation.
The training is designed to improve the knowledge and skill of NAPTIP officers on investigation, protection and prosecution of offenders of trafficking in persons and violence against persons in Nigeria. NAPTIP sincerely appreciates German International Police for this bold and commendable initiative, which has greatly assisted in enhancing the knowledge and skills of our officers on trafficking in persons over the years.
In addition to the workshop, the German government commissioned the newly renovated resource center equipped with essential office tools. This facility will serve NAPTI's zonal commands in Enugu, Kano and Oshogbo, enhancing the operational capacity.
The center is indeed equipped to meet the diverse needs of all those who will benefit from it. And for this, we remain grateful to the government and people of Germany for this excellent show of support, partnership and collaboration in the fight against trafficking in persons.
This center will serve as a hub of knowledge, information and training, equipping NAPTIP with the resources needed to tackle the complexities of human trafficking. It is our hope that this center will not only enhance your operational effectiveness, but also foster collaboration, innovation, and a shared commitment to eradicate that crime.
The training is designed to equip officers with advanced investigative techniques to strengthen the fight against human trafficking. Participants, including frontline intelligence and rapid response officers, express the significance of the program while shedding light on the challenges that hinder progress in tackling human trafficking.
This training is very important to me because as a law enforcement personnel, I need this training in order to boost my capacity and enhance my knowledge of happenings about human trafficking and other new trends involved in the human trafficking activities.
If families continue to settle problems, especially when it comes to trafficking in persons, violence against persons, if they continue to settle it amicably without sending a message to perpetrators of these acts, it's a challenge in getting convictions.
The initiative is part of the global campaign against gender-based violence, a 16-day activism movement aimed at addressing systemic societal issues.
Well, in case you missed any of our news bulletins or for more updates, you can catch us on Limex World TV and AVO TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, or download our mobile app on Google Play Store, Huawei App Gallery and Apple Store. On Facebook, we are at TV360 Online. In the world of business, the Nigerian government is pledged to address the regulatory and bureaucratic hurdles facing exporters in order to create new pathways for boosting the nation's economy. Trade and Investment Minister Jumoke Oduwole made the statement during a ministerial export consultation held in Lagos, where she commended the top 100 exporters for their significant contributions to economic growth. The Controller General of Customs, Adeniyi Adewale, also recognized the valuable impact of exporters on the economy and called for a stronger push to accelerate export growth.
As our numbers in exports are growing, there should be effect and impact on the value of the naira, because we bring in forex to the country through our exports. So we are not just enriching you, but we should also, this should translate to improvements in the value of the naira. If it is not happening, If only our exporters are the only ones smiling to the bank, then something is wrong in the mathematics. It should be translated into an improvement in the value of the naira. We're pushing oil import up. Yesterday, we got the cheering news that they are doing 1.9 now, and they are hoping to get up to 2 million barrels per day at the beginning of the new year. And as we push export numbers up, these two combinations should help us to attract forex into Nigeria and contribute to shoring up and improving the value of the naira.
A number of these exporters are well known to the PEVEC. We've had a national action plan that has worked on agro-exports in particular in 2021. Suffice to say that all what we know and listening afresh with fresh eyes from this side of the table means that we'll continue to make sure that we work on streamlining those issues that the exporters have raised. They're valid points, and we have to address them. We've heard them time and time again, and to not do it is to shoot ourselves on the foot. To not do it is to leave value on the table. To not do it is to make sure that this economy doesn't grow. To not do it is to keep us without enough foreign exchange supply for this economy. So Mr. President has given me the marching orders, and together with colleagues, we're going to deliver this for the Nigerian economy.
Still on business, the Petroleum Products Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria has said the Port Harcourt refinery will sell its petrol as 1,030 naira per litre, stating that the refinery is working as claimed by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. In a statement on Thursday, Petran spokesman Joseph Obele said the NNPC announced to the association that a litre of premium motor spirit goes for 1,030 naira at the refurbished refinery. He added that Petron's strategic pricing team was currently analyzing the most favorable price for its members, stating that they were open to patronizing all the refineries in Nigeria. Speaking on claims that the refinery was not working as claimed, Obele stated that they emphatically stated the old Port Harcourt refinery was functional and producing refined petroleum products at the moment. Oil prices rose slightly on Friday following a potential renewal of supply risk as Israel and Hezbollah traded accusations of ceasefire violations and as a delay to an OPEC Plus meeting left investors awaiting a decision on its output policy. Brent crude futures rose 10 cents to $73 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were at $69, up 45 cents compared to Wednesday's closing price. On a weekly basis, Brent futures were down 2.4% and the U.S. WTI benchmark was trading 2.9% lower. Trading remained thin due to the Thanksgiving holiday on Thursday that shut U.S. financial markets. Israel and Lebanese armed group Hezbollah traded accusations on Thursday over alleged violations of their ceasefire that came into effect the day before. The deal had at first appeared to alleviate the potential for supply disruption from a broader conflict that had led to a risk premium for oil. And on the global scene, Guinea has reaffirmed its commitment to partnering with nations worldwide to foster economic growth and development, with hopes of positioning the country as one of Africa's emerging economic powers. The message was delivered by Guinea's Minister of Planning and International Cooperation, Ismail Nabe, during the 28th World Investment Conference, WIC, organized by World Association of Investment Promotion Agencies and held in Saudi Arabia. Nabi highlighted that under Guinea's Vision 2040, the country aims to develop its mining sector and other key industries through strategic partnerships, particularly with Saudi Arabia, which is investing heavily in its mineral sector as part of its Vision 2030.
Guinea is a god, well, because we have natural resources, but we have water, we have a land for agriculture. So our message today to the world to say that Guinea is ready to collaborate with all the partners. Guinea is open to collaborate with everybody. We don't have no enemies. We are friends with everybody to try to move our country forward. This Vision 2030 of Saudi Arabia, for information, Guinea, we are drafting our new Vision 2040. Guinea 2040 because we have one of the biggest iron ore quality mine right now, which is mined by Rio Tinto, by Chalco, by all the capitals. We have also American, they are providing the wagon. This project about $20 billion project, which is composed with the construction of a railway, 650-kilometer railway from the mine to the port. At the same time, the development of multi-users of port. This port is about pretty much completed by 65%. The railway is completed. So based on this project, we are developing what we call Simandu Program 2040. I mean, we are here to talk to our friend from Saudi Arabia to collaborate how they have done their vision 2030, how that vision can be parallel with the vision 2040 by our president. So our vision is about 5 clusters. The first cluster is agro-industry and commerce.
And finally on sports, after securing their spot at the 2026 ICC T20 World Cup Africa Qualifier Finals with 1 game to spare, Nigeria capped off an impressive outing at the Sub-Regional C qualifiers in Abuja on Thursday by beating Botswana to the title. The Yellow Greens won after beating Botswana by 77 runs to complete a 5-match unbeaten streak at the tournament, which was hosted by the twin ovals of the Moshood Abiola National Stadium in Abuja. Both countries had qualified for the regional finals, which will be played in July 2025, but Thursday's clash was the title decider as both teams were leveled on 8 points heading into the last day of the series. Nigeria and Botswana will now join Tanzania, Malawi from qualifier A, Zimbabwe and Kenya from qualifier B, and the 2 African representatives at the last T20 World Cup, Namibia and Uganda, who are drawn to the regional finals. Still on sports, Shooting Stars coach Benga Ogumbote has been invited by the Nigeria Premier Football League Board for an investigative hearing over comments he made after their Southwest Derby defeat to Ikorodu City on Sunday, November 17 in Lagos. The experienced gaffer is to appear before the MPFL Disciplinary Committee for an inquest on Tuesday, December 3rd by 10 a.m. at the League Secretariat in the Jabi district of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. According to a statement released by the MPFL, the board considers some of the positions he expressed as a breach of the code of conduct for NPFL coaches. The said comments by Ogumbote were made after 3SC's 5th defeat of the season, which saw them drop to 12th position in the table, forcing the experienced gaffer to come hard against the men in the middle one more time this season. And that wraps up our bulletin on News Now. Many thanks for joining us. I am Victoria Akonde. See you next time.
da kamar ina da tare da waya ta ma za ku ga amana saboda ni na dauka waya kamar yanzu kamar anan ina cikin bidiyo na gargajiya ko ka tona amana ko gurin kiwon ma babu gonakan kan babu ba maganar gonakai duk inda muke da gonakai gurin sahara ya ce
gurin kiwo sahara ya ce za su kuma taku da kanka ma kana tafiya wallahi kana sai ka yi ne kana tafiya wani gangare ka shiga ko ka kan ka sai ya fi da ba kana tona ma ba za ka kama shi karuwa yake karuwa yake karuwa yake karuwa yake ma karuwa ba an ce kuma amma
farmers and herders in Nigeria saw enjoy relative peace as they interacted with each other. That is no longer the case. It is estimated that between 2016 and 2018, over 3,600 laborers to the crisis groups. In the first half of 2018, about 300 households came to the place for the season in central Nigeria have notably been house of violence. The crisis is spreading fast to other parts of the country, including droughts. Several factors have been identified for the bloodshed, the increased relation fever, running sources, which we could rely on, or pattern of violation of the traditionally nomad Islamic cattle rearers has been changing. This is due to rising insecurity, veterinary health and state governments, and a bunch of environmental factors including climate change, desertification, loss of vegetation, and water scarcity. In Yobe, northeast Nigeria, the relationship between the sky and increased violence is obvious. From the encroachment of the Sahara Desert to the shrinking of the Hadija Nguru wetlands.
ina magana akan yanayin mutuwar dabbobinmu lokacin yunwa. Misali, idan rani ya ja lokaci kafin faduwar damuna, duk da faduwar damuna, ciyawa ta kan yanke.
Wato matsalar da muke samu na daga kwararwa hamada mu dai faru lokacin gama in particular daga Fulani gabar da nan kenan da muke zo ne har zuwa Gumsi ita ce su faru gama kuma jajin bayan da dai abubuwa da kuke gani a nan yanzu a ƙasa ta kusa kan dai hamada ta riga ta cika cikin lokacin gama ta yi nisa ta ci sosai ba mu san dai kuma abin da zai biyo baya ba amma ɓangaren gwamnati
the challenge of climate change and the consequences of climate change on the environment, especially when you look closely at environmental degradation and the competition for resources, in this instance specifically for land and water, has in several instances generated conflict. There is virtually no part of the northwest, not to an extent north central, and then northeast that you go to that you don't see receding water bodies, and how this is having a huge impact on the socio-economic well-being of and livelihoods of the people in those communities. And so the likelihood of migration from the core northern states into some parts of southern Nigeria is something that is real.
Zakari, a village in Yusufari, northern Yobe State, lies on the fringes of the Sahara Desert. About 50 years ago, it was like any other arid northeast Nigerian community, with decent vegetation, a smooth road network, sun-baked mud buildings, and a great many people who had lived there for generations. Now it is just miles and miles of sand dunes. Desert encroachment has pushed out the majority of the residents, many of them herders. Malam Musa is one of many herders in Gaidam who have now resettled in the Song area of Adamawa.
Sani wanda ya yi sanadiyan barin su yankin nan?
Akwai.
Na je kai kaman gidaje na ko rugaje na ko mutane nawa za ka gaba kayya na?
Kai kamar 100.
Wato wanda suka bar nan wajen.
Take kaɗan ɗin.
A sanadiyan wannan. To ya kuke fama da baki?
Around January, February, you hardly see anything in the place that an animal will browse or take as a food. And there's no water even to drink. So this is one of the factors that will make them to come southwards. If they move southwards for water and for grazing the dry grasses. Definitely the desert encroachment is one of the factors that is concentrating the animal into a place and making the clashes between farmers and herders more frequent, more often. Had it been that in the area that is encroached by desert, there is grasses and water for them to, they may not be there. They don't have to move. But now it's necessary that they must come southward during as the dry season is approaching. They must come southward in search of little pasture and drinking water. While if during the rainy season approach, they go north, since there may be water and little grasses for them to graze.
The problem with desert encroachment is not going to stop anytime soon. According to one estimate, the sand dunes shift towards the south at a rate of 30 hectares each year, putting 11 states in northern Nigeria at risk of desertification. More cattle rearers in these places are moving elsewhere due to the combination of factors: insecurity, drought, desertification, and the need for water.
Ruwan ba irin na ba, saboda ruwan kowa ya ji fadama bai sha ruwa ba, gashi kuma ga wurare gonaki ko ina fili ya kare ba gurin yau to shi ne makayayan da suka zo ga lamirin mu anan mun yi da mu da su a kan mu kore su muka yi mu kore su, abun ya gagare mu, muka gaya wa lawanin mu shi ma ya yi dan abun da bakin kokarin sa, abun ya gagari mun gaya wa hakimi ma, duk kowa ya san da ba kuma ba din nan ba daga wani guri suke ba, daga jiga.
The migration of herders to new places tends to lead to clashes or aggravate existing conflicts because of competition over insufficient land and water resources.
Ina tafiya suna tare ni da kibiya suna jifa na ni ina so in tafi gurin yaran can, su kuma suna gefen nan gefen kudu haka, su yaran suna gabar, ni ina tafiya gun su gabar, su kuma suna gefe na
yaran da suke aikin
shinkafa.
Kai kana so ka iso wajen su?
Su kuma wannan
shan makiyaya kuma sai suka zargu
a cikin gona.
Sai suka zargu suka fara harbi.
Sai suka kama harbi. Suna harbi na, suna jifa, ni ban sani ba ma. Ni da na gani haka dai, ina gani suna yin haka dai da abin su suna jifa. Amma kibiyan bai zo ya same ni ba, ban gani ba ma. Ashe wai su harbi suke. Sai na fasa tafiya gun yaran, sai na tafi gun yaran Fulani din. To ina tafiya, ɗayan yana yin harbinsa, ashe kibiyarsa ya ƙare. Da ya gani na kusa zuwa gunsa, sai dan uwansa sai ya jefa masa addansa. Shi wani yana da kibiya, shi zai gudu kenan. Sai ya jefa wannan da ba zai gudu ba, sai ya jefa masa adda. Kawai yaron nan kawai sai ya tafi da gudu. Sai ya fita da gudu ya zo ya same ni, ya doka mu.
Adda?
Da itace a hannuna na ɗauka na masu buge shinkafa. Ya yanke itacen, kuma ya yanke hannu. Hannun yanzu haka babu, yanzu fakin ne aka ce za a yi, ba zai zama hannu ba.
To shi ne wannan kibiya ɗan kibiyan kenan?
Shi lokacin da ya tsare da adda na faɗi.
Kamar shekara 5 a bangaren noma din gaskiya ba mu da matsala da su. amma daga shekara 2 zuwa 3 ɗin abubuwan suka ƙara lalacewa.
Kuma karanci ruwa shi ya kawo inda ruwan ya zo an zuba da shinkafa, wani guri ya hau wani guri bai hau ba. To dalilin wannan su ne dama wanda Fulani suka samu rashin ruwan shi ya kawo su suka shiga ka zauna, kuma abinda saboda shinkafan masu ma rashin kiyawa da miyadin suka shiga shinkafa mutane suna ci, an hana su abin muhimmi da ya fi karfin mu gaskiya mu na maguru.
In Nguru, about 100 kilometers west of Yusufari, is a section of the Hadija Nguru wetlands. For many years, the waterlogged fields and rivers in the area have sustained the livelihoods of millions of farmers, herders, and fishermen. But the water is starting to recede. Harvests, especially for rice farmers, have dropped significantly in the past year. They are also facing more problems from herders, whose cattle graze on the farms closer to town before harvest is done.
To gaskiya wannan dai inda dai da ruwan dai hakan duk ba za ta faru da yawa ba. Da rashin ruwan ma kuma da ta'adin da Fulani ne duk dai ba wanda za a ce ba.
Kowa ya taka rawa ciki.
Gaskiya ne.
Yanzu a ganin ka me kake gani ya kamata a yi wanda zai iya magance wannan abun? Ita buɗewar ne ko kuma
an da an buɗe ruwa din za a iya samun saukin kan abin. Hanyar ruwa idan ta riga ta gyaru, zaman lafiya tsakanin tun da daɗin ruwa yana zama ba wani matsala tsakanin su. Da can asali din da ruwa yana zaune, muna zaune da ruwa, daga baya kuma ruwan ya yi karanci zuwa yanzu shekara kamar 12. Da akwai ruwa baya, amma zuwa yanzu
sosai ba sa ɗaukan sa kamar wani muhimmanci.
Gona biyu haka aka ce, gona biyu aka ce kowanne a baya ina samun 30-30, gona biyu ina samun 60, babu ɗaya kwano ɗaya ban samu. Kuma na yi yunkuri na ji na gaya ciyama.
To our own understanding, the major problems is the absence of coming of the water. That are the reason why we fail to get what we have.
Lack of water.
They are all affected in the land. We have only source of water. If that source bring us water, the whole area farming well and organized. And then if there is no water from that only center we have it, we all lost. And what we understand now, the farmers at Onguru, they have already failed. 70% of our farmers have nothing to farm.
90%.
Have 20% get only rice that have been eaten in their house. And then 10% are those that are gain something from the farming. And even me, I've tried to farm more than 1,000 to 2,000 rice. And my chairman more than 20,000. And the secretary will do more than 25,000 because of he's richer than us. But now, even I don't have even 10 bucks. I'm farming more than 1,000 and I don't have even 10 bucks.
Ok, kana ka ɗauka.
Babu sun cinye, yaro sun cinye, ne yayi. Kuma ruwa bai shiga ba.
Some
footprints of the cows or plants that they've eaten.
Akwai da zamu iya ganin zamu iya ɗaukan hoton
ɗakin mutu a
To a tsarin mu na uku kare na ba sai mu ya gaba da wannan. The major problem is lack of water. And then the second problem is the coming of the Fulani from somewhere else. And then that Fulani comes because of the absence of water.
3 factors have been identified for the water problem: the proliferation of the invasive taifa grass, the construction of dams along water roads supplying the wetlands, such as the Tiga Dam in Kano, and droughts. One other reason for the increased clashes between farmers and herders in Nigeria is the encroachment of grazing roads, reserved for use by pastoralists, by northern lawmakers during the First Republic. These grazing roads and reserves are now being converted into farmlands and other structures. This makes it difficult for herders to move about freely without trespassing, and has repeatedly been used as an excuse.
Burtali nan da abin da ya kama daga nan har zuwa Sudan akwai burtali, amma su manoma duk sun je sun kakkare sun je sun yi shuke da sauransu. Shi yasa su Fulani kai musu magana da wannan suke laɓewa. An kashe burtali da sauransu. Kuma a hakikanin gaskiya yawancin tashin hankali da muke samu a nan akan harkar manoma da makiyaya yawanci da ba makiyaya daga wani da suke ba kuma ba a kwanta ne kuma ba
in Nigeria, the grace was expired this glasses as well.
The upgrade in my body and
what